Hello, very good evening to you and welcome to the one-day special. How gorgeous are those quilts? And the gorgeous lady who made them is right next to me. Good evening, Hayley.
Hello, darling. How you doing?
Beautiful. You've been working hard.
I've been a busy bee, but it's all been made a lot easier because the dies make it so quick to cut out. That's why I like them.
How lovely. Now, we've seen these dies before, but we've not seen them with the patterns. Is that right? Have I got that right?
That's right, yeah. So the dies, we had them a little while ago, but a lot of feedback that we got was that people, especially if they're new to quilting, as a lot of paper crafters are, wanted a little bit more knowledge with regards to how to use the dies. So that's when we came up with the concept of taking 3 die sets and giving you 3 patterns that will utilise those dies so as you can create some fabulous quilts from the moment they arrive. And they're really simple instructions. So you are working around a 3-inch block, or sorry, 3-inch patches, which all come together in a variety of different ways. Now the 3 that you're looking at there, they are made up behind me as quilts. Now obviously you can change the fabrics around if you're wanting to. It can be quite economical making your quilts as well.
I know, Hayley. Tell me about that first one in the yellow and the brown.
This particular one, the one that you did actually see it in the video earlier on, it's actually made out of recycled shirts.
So, yeah.
So
I was so impressed.
You don't have to spend a lot of fabric on your pattern on your quilts. We've got also one that's made out of Liberty fabric. We've got one that's made out of charm packs. We've got some of them that are made out also of things like fat quarters. But there you go. This is the one that was literally made out of 3 of my shirts, 3 of my old shirts, the dark green, the lighter green and that yellowy tone. And I've even got elements of the shirt left over to show you.
That's thrifty for you.
And then I just added in some additional fabrics there to extend it. So you can really recycle. You can use things like bed sheets as well if you're wanting to. And there you go, just to prove it, there's the cuff for the one shirt. So there you go. So there's the cuff.
I love that colour.
And then the sleeve, you can get quite a lot of fabric out of sleeves.
Gosh, I can't believe
So there
this.
you go, you unpick it and then you can use your dies to cut out your fabrics.
Wow.
You don't need a uniform shape to start. That's the thing.
So you said with the dies as well, Hayley, you can really maximise your material, can't you? You're not wasting loads.
You're not wasting anything at all. And I will show you how you can maximise using it. A lot of people think that when you're working with dies, there's going to be a lot of waste. But to be honest, I found it's a lot quicker to cut. It's a lot quicker to actually stitch because you don't have your little kind of corners, which I'll tell you about. And also, it means that you can place and cut out the shapes in the smallest scraps of fabric without having to kind of cut out a uniform shape to start with.
Brilliant, lovely. So our one-day special gives you these 3 patterns that are actually Hayley's patterns. You're getting your 2 3-inch squares down here in the dies. You're getting your quarter triangles there as well. And you're getting your 3 rectangles. So they're your dies, as Hayley explained, if you've got your die cutting machine. And it'll go through most die cutting machines, won't it? Even the little mini ones there.
Well, because they're only 3-inch squares, you basically got to have that throat area with regards to your die machine. I use the Kaleido, which I think we might also have on the show as well.
Brilliant. £40.97. Absolutely fantastic value, 996,139. Got a second, if you like, because the one-day special, this is going to be a mini event, if you like, for this evening only. So I would ask you just to urge not to miss out. But we've got like a second set as well. Now, tell me about this second set, Hayley.
OK. Well, because we've got 2 kind of sets of 3 with regards to the dies, this is a natural progression to make a second option. So it's kind of like you say, a second one-day special. So with this one, again, you've got the additional sets of 3 dies. Now, these are different to the ones that we've seen in the one-day special, but they kind of complete the bundle. So if you like the look of both of them, just hold fire for a moment because you've got a bit of a Billy bonus if you're going for them all together. But you've got 3 different quilts, again, utilising just the dies in this set. And that's the thing, with the one-day special, it uses those 3 dies. With this particular bundle, it uses these 3 dies. So you can, if you want to, just get involved for the price on your screen and create those 3 quilts just to get started. And those are the ones that you've got there. Well, most of them.
Yes, I've got the diagonal and I've got the little blocks, because I think you're going to be, I'm just going to remove them. I think you're going to be demonstrating our All Together Now quilts. So I'm just going to take that down so I can show everybody, because you've spent so much time, you know, and effort creating these beautiful quilts. So is this the little blocks, this one?
No, this one's actually, do we call it delightful diagonals? I can't remember what we called it now.
Yeah. Diagonal delight.
The
That's
same
it,
word,
diagonal
just a
delight.
different order. So that's that particular one. Really nice and quick and easy one to put together. You've just got one style of block that you're rotating, putting together with those strips and your little cornerstones, which again are die cut. Now the next one that you've got, the blue one, you did have a sneaky peek of this one when John was doing his show on Sunday. Oof. Because this is actually a quilt that my daughter has made using the dies, and she has never made a quilt before. Oh. This is her first ever quilt.
Amazing.
First ever. I got her to trial the pattern, and she gave me a couple of little suggestions that made it a little bit easier. And this one is all about little blocks. So you're making small blocks and bringing them together, which is why it's called from small blocks, because it's a bit like from little acorns, from little blocks, little acorns, that kind of theme.
Absolutely stunning. There's no reason to get involved, and we've even got Hayley's Mocha Block, Choco-Block system I know, on the show as well. So again, we've got a saving on this set as well of £13. £14 saving on the one-day special makes you 27 altogether if we add this one as well. Because I'm going to introduce you to the big mega bundle, 830808. So that's for that set. We've got the monthly mega deal, which also includes another 3 amazing, beautiful patterns, which are behind me now. One with the Liberty fabric, I do believe.
That's right, yeah. So the one with the pinks and the blues, which is the one, and I called it Labour of Love because it was, because I didn't actually follow the pattern properly, so it did turn into a labour of love. So my top tip is don't do what you think you should do, follow the instructions of the pattern. And then the other one, the green one that you've got, is the fabulous twister one, which is one of my favourites. It looks like you've kind of wrapped around the fabric, but again, all done using the dies. Now, the 3 bonus patterns utilise all 6 sets of dies, and they are a bonus, and you'd usually be paying £5 for each pattern, so you're looking at £45 worth of patterns within the monthly mega deal, and that's the sail away one.
So your patterns you're selling yourself, aren't you?
That's right, yeah. So you'd normally be paying £5 for each one of those patterns. So yeah.
Right.
And this bundle that we've got here, this monthly mega deal bundle, and also the sets with the patterns are exclusive here. You can't get those on my website. Ah,
there we go. So we could get your patterns, but not at this price, because it's like you're getting an extra £45 worth of patterns, because Hayley's selling them for a £5. An extra £45 worth as an absolute bonus. So that's why most people will be going for the monthly.
Well, it makes sense too, because I mean, you can look at it as one or two ways. You're either getting 9 patterns, which you'd normally be paying £45
then the £27
So you're only looking at as the extra between the £45 and just shy of £70 on your screen there. So it's an extra £25, it's 45? Yeah, it's about, £31. Yeah. Wow.
Ooh, mega.
Okay. Makes sense. Actually, I didn't do the maths on that.
No, we're looking at each other going, huh?
That sounds like a good deal.
I really wish we'd done that earlier. But there we go, we worked it out. So most of you, why not? And I'll show you the Mocha Block.
Mocha Block.
Mocha Block. I'll keep renaming the Mocha Block system later, which works brilliantly, of course, as well. With this in terms of working out your lovely patterns. Now, already 10%'s already gone. Thank you for heeding my warning, because it is a mini one-day special.
That's right. I'm back tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, but that's it. We've only got 3 live hours.
3 live hours, that's what we want to say. So just to highlight that, because normally things carry over till 4 o'clock tomorrow. So remember, as well, the monthly mega deal is supposed to last a month. Now, I've been with Hayley and we've seen monthly mega deals sell out before the month's end.
Yes.
That has happened. So it does happen as much as we want to bring you that stock. So please don't miss out. 438598. So let's see how it works with lovely Hayley.
Okay, so I thought I'd take it back to how we've been doing it. Very quickly, this is how you would traditionally make up your patches. And we've seen this many a time on the shows, where you get your 2 squares of fabric which have been cut. Mathematically, you've got to get the right dimensions to start with, because you're talking about kind of 7/8 of inches, you're talking about 3/8 of inches, you're talking about all sorts of different combinations, because every time you stitch and you cut, that square is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So first of all, you've got the maths. I don't like maths.
No.
That's the first thing. So that's why I wanted to find something that was a different way of doing it. Now, usually you'd have your 2 pieces of fabric in a square, and if you were looking at doing what we call quarter square triangles, which are your small triangles, you'd take your square, you'd draw a line across like so, and we've seen this many a time, and then you'd stitch a 1/4 inch down one side, a 1/4 inch down the other side, then you'd cut it through, so you'd end up with kind of this sort of scenario where you've kind of got like a square coming together. So then you'd put them together, then you'd cut through them, stitch them together, cut through them again, so you'd end up with a square like that. And you've got these little dog ear bits on there, which you have to literally go along and trim those off when you come in to actually put your next piece of fabric to it. And you've got your square, and then you'll be putting that together, but you've got to cut all these bits off because they add bulk. This is all very, very time consuming. Now, the quilts that we've got behind us, I've got 8 quilts and it took me probably about 9 weeks or so from the actual design to the making of these. And that's because the dies are so quickly. So this is why I like the dies, because I'm just going to take a couple of pieces of fabric. Now, first of all, when you are doing your squares, as I was just explaining, which I've just lost, where's that gone? It was there a second ago. It's disappeared. But usually you'd have to, if you wanted to do these 1/4 square triangles, you've got to have a piece of fabric that is going to accommodate for that large square to start with. So usually, if I wanted to do the 1/4 square triangles, this fabric on the top is not big enough, because I'd have to cut a square out, and then it'd have to be the right size, and it's basically not wide enough to make my 1/4 square triangles in the traditional sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my dies. So I've got my dies in my little grab and go bag. They're all kept in here in a little container along with my Mocha blocks, so I've got it all together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out the dies that will make my 1/4 square triangles, my little 1/4 triangles. Now, in the past we have seen dies, but you tend to find that you just get one of those. And then if you're needing to cut multiples, you have to pass it through 2 or 3 times with different fabrics over and over. But with this set, you're actually getting 4 of these. So if you're going for the set where you've got your 1/4 square triangles, then you're getting 4 of those. So I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine, which is the Kaleido. And if you're worried about cutting fabric and you think, oh yeah, but the plates all bend and all that kind of thing, these plates are the plates that I've used to cut and create all 8 of those quilts.
Wow.
I've not changed them at all. I did buy a new set because I thought, well, I'll use them on the show. And I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to use the original. So you've got the magnetic plate that comes with your Kaleido. You've got a metal shim that I've got that I've incorporated, and the 3mm and the 5mm plates that come with it as well. So what I always do is I put the one plate down. It doesn't matter which one it is. Then I put the metal plate down, and then I put my fabric down. Now this is where I wanted to explain the fact that you can use an odd shaped piece of fabric. So I could fold this up. I tend to have 4 layers of fabric that I'm cutting out in one go, but just to explain it, I've just got a couple. So all you do is you position the dies where you're wanting them to go. So it doesn't have to be a uniform square that you might traditionally have had to do. You just position them where you want them to go, like so. And then you'll come in with your top plate, just nudge that over a little bit. Come in with your top plate, you'll place that on. You'll pop it through your machine. I'm just going to pick the whole thing up rather than moving my die cutting machine as well and try and balancing it all. You just, oh, there you go. Actually, I'll bring it over. It is easier. You just rotate it. Oh, I'm on a cutting mat. You'll hear a click. Don't be afraid of that click, because that's just the process of it cutting. And then what I've got is I've got the pieces for me to create my 1/4 square triangles. Now, because I actually layered the fabric up correctly to start with, I can literally take those now, take it to my machine, and then just stitch it out. So there we go. These are set up now. I can literally take that. I don't need to clip it or anything. I can take it to my machine and I can stitch through like so. So I'm going to stitch that piece together. Then I'm going to take the next one. I'm just going to chain stitch it. I'm going to take that one and I'm going to stitch that one together. And I'm going to take that one and I'm going to stitch that one together. So you can see how quickly and easily you are making those pieces. The last piece there, bringing that together. I didn't check that they're all the right way around, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. So there we go. So I've got all of those. All I'm going to do now is move that out of the way. I can snip those apart like so, and then I can press them, or finger press them if you're wanting to. So there you go, finger press, bring that one together and finger press that one. Hold on, which way around do we do now? I haven't thought about the way that they go around, but it doesn't matter. I can put those together now. Now, I find it personally a lot easier to line up, should I say, that whole curvature that you've got on the corner. The problem that you've got with the little triangles, which they've disappeared, they were here a second ago, is they can swivel a lot on those corners there. I don't know where, I think I've just thrown them on the floor somewhere. I don't know where they've gone.
Trolley. It's not about the wheel of your trolley there, darling, is it?
I don't know where they've gone. Oh, here they are. I'll put it over there. So what you tend to find is when you've got the triangles like this, they can pivot and they can move. It's quite hard for you to line those up and get them perfect. Whereas you've got that clean, crisp corner there, which means that you can literally take that to your machine. I'm not even going to press it. I've put the centre together, lined it up. The corners are lined up there. I can literally take that to my machine, stitch down the side there, and straight away I have got my little square, which is my patch that I'm ready to use. So off we go, stitch that down. Whoops. So stitch that along. There we go. Whoops. Lining it up as I go. And then what I've actually got with this, you know how I was talking about the fact that I have to trim off those dog ears to get a nice neat edge?
Yeah.
Well, I can come along with my square die now, cut out my square, again, utilise, you get 2 of these within the one day special. So again, I can line it up, put my fabric down. I've only got a single layer on this occasion. Pop it down, and again, you can see it's using the smallest scraps of fabric that you've got there. Pass it through. It's going to round off those corners again. So that means that when I pass this through, I'm going to get rid of this cutting mat because it's swiveling round. When I actually take those 2 together, they're going to line up perfectly again, and I'm not going to have those little dog ears. So that's the key thing. Let me just snip that little corner bit off there. It's because I've only got a single layer. Sometimes it's a bit like paper. If you've got single layers, it doesn't cut as quick, as smoothly. But there you can see just how clean and crisp that lining up is, and I haven't had to come along and snip off those awful little corners, which I hate because they make such a mess. You're trimming these off and you've got hundreds of these little tiny dog ears. I mean, for each patch that you're doing, you're going to end up with 4 of those dog ears that you've got. They end up on your clothes, they end up on your floor. You end up having to kind of clean up after every single session, whereas when you're actually cutting them with the dies, they are all rounded to perfection. And again, it just makes it so easy to line everything up so you can stitch those together, and you've got your first kind of set of patches for your block.
Amazing. So quick. I can't believe
this is it. It saves so much time.
So on those dies, Hayley, can you see the double ridged edge? Is that telling you where the ½ inch is?
This is it. Now, because they've got to go through your fabric, they need to be a different style of die. So they need to be a thicker die to start with. So you've got these kind of almost like reinforced elements within the dies. So what that means is that it's going to make it nice and easy. It's not going to twist. You might find a little tiny bit of warping, but that's just kind of the nature of die cutting, but it doesn't affect the cutting. What can affect the cutting is if you're only doing a single layer. Quite often it's a bit like paper. Sometimes it's a trickier thing to cut just a single layer. And also if you start putting in 8 layers, which you can do, but because you're using so much pressure through your machine, that's what can cause the warping of your plates.
I see.
So that's why I tend to kind of do it that way. But they are thicker, they're more expensive to make than your traditional dies as well, which is why I can't believe that we've got the deal that we've got on the screen.
For the material,
yeah.
That's fascinating. That's brilliant. Thank you for explaining that to me.
No problem. Shall I get ready to show you how you can cut out your fabrics?
That'd be lovely, Julie.
Brilliant. Well, I'll let you carry on. I'll get set up, and then, we'll meet up in a minute.
Lovely. Majority of you out there are going for the monthly mega deal, and I'm not surprised either, because you're carrying over the £14 saving from the one day special, £13 saving, and then carrying that over with your extra 3 patterns, which are worth £15 on their own. And yeah, massive saving. I mean, just the patterns alone in this set, 9 quilts, £45 worth there, because Hayley's developed those patterns, which would be £5 each. So that is absolutely. So we worked out £31 saving on the monthly mega deal, which is fantastic. So if you're a quilter, brilliant. Yeah, we've got the Clydo on the show today, or maybe you've got a crafter friend who's got an extra, die cutting machine, or you're thinking that this is speedy, I'm going to invest in one anyway. And if you're a crafter, we're hoping this will encourage you to move into the soft furnishing side of things as well. 9 weeks to make 9 quilts, that's averaging 1 a week. Phenomenal. So 2 flexi-buy payments there. I mean, the price point for the quality of those dies and all of those patterns, that is amazing, isn't it? £45 worth of patterns as well. Yeah, that our lovely Hayley has done. The shards are my favourite. I just love the colours. A bit cave facet in there. We've got batik. We've got Liberty. Oh, so I've got Hayley's old shirts. We can be thrifty. It's fantastic, isn't it? 438598. I want to mention the Mocha block system. I might have to hassle our Hayley again. Now this is brilliant. Now this is 64 patch planner pieces. And basically it's referring to a lot of the die sizes we were just talking with Hayley there. And this is where you can lay out the patterns of your quilts. And you've got 4 large squares, and you've got the 16 small 1.5-inch squares. You've got the 8 half square tiles, the 16 quarter square triangles, and then you've got the 8 large rectangles, and then the 12 narrow rectangles. And basically, can you see this here? This is to create your frame. And within that frame, you can work out the pattern, any pattern that you want to do, or replicate a pattern. So if you've got Hayley's, I know you can download it on a website, that's it's like a shopping list. And you can work out how much of each of those you're going to need for each 32-inch quilt or whatever the size quilt is by using your Mocha block system, because you can put the squares, the triangle. Oh, that's what I'm on about, the shopping list, the calculator sheet. That's what I'm talking about. That comes with it, does it?
It does indeed, yeah. And you can download that from the website as well.
That's what I said, yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's what it is, isn't it, Hayley? Have I sort of said that succinctly?
It is, pretty much so. I mean, the pieces that you've got there all correspond with all of the dies that we've been talking about.
Yes.
So that means if you want to cut out your large triangles, you've got the dies to do that. If you want to cut out the rectangles, you've got the dies, the squares. All of them are taken into consideration with the complete bundle if you're going for that. But what this does is it gives you the ability to design your own patches.
Yeah.
So there's lots of traditional patches out there that you can create, but the beauty is with the Mocha block system that you've got those elements that you can create your own patch, your own blocks, and make your own designs up. So for instance, I've got a couple here that I've used. They're stuck into the frame, obviously, so as you can see them there. But you can see here all those different elements being put together, taking those different pieces, creating those, but then what I can actually do is take the dies that I need. So for instance, the rectangles, those there, I could use that die to cut those out. The quarter square triangles, I've got those dies there as well. And this is a pattern that I've created. It's not a traditional quilt block, it's one that I've created. The frame extends, so you can make your larger blocks as well if you're wanting to. And the beauty is that's when you start creating your own designs, putting those fabrics in place to make your own unique blocks. And it just works alongside the monthly mega deal and the one-day special, because you can die cut those as you go as well. And you can get quite creative with those, creating things like houses. You can either do like letters as well. And it just all works really well together. So if you like the idea of kind of playing around and making your own blocks, but you don't necessarily want to cut them out in the traditional sense with a rotary cutter, then that's why they both work so well together.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Highly well worth it. That's all I can say. It's going to take all the angst out of it. And I can't believe now we've got the dies to make it even simpler. With that shopping list, the actual calculator, you can physically work out, I need 10 of the 3-inch squares or whatever it is you need. So we'll have a quick video to show you how it works. Yeah, absolutely superb system. 095421 if you haven't already got that. Now, the majority of you going for the monthly mega deal, you can go for the one-day special, which is these 3 quilting patterns by Hayley and obviously the corresponding dies. We've got our second set as well, And then you also don't forget, you get your extra 3 patterns by Hayley as well. So you end up with 9 patterns, as well as your £14 saving on your one-day special, £13 saving on the second set. And that all carries across to a huge saving of £31 across the set board there. £69.94, 438598. It's a lot of explaining, but we got there. So let's go back to you now, Hayley.
A lot of information to take on board, but there's a lot of people that may be paper crafters that have got their die cutting machine, that have often watched the soft craft shows and thought to themselves, oh, I'd love to be able to create a quilt, but I just really do not know where to start. And that's kind of where the dies evolved from. Now, the quilts that we've got behind, as I've mentioned, that one has been created using recycled shirts, the green and the yellow one. So there's a lot of fabric within a shirt. Just well, you don't even have to unpick it. Just kind of cut the inside sleeves to open up the sleeves, use the back. Top tip, if you're using things from the charity shops, go for the largest size you can get because you get more fabric.
Good idea.
But I've just added in some plains there, some plain white there, which actually came from a sheet, from a charity shop. And then, of course, the border strips, which is just out of my stash. The one behind me, this has been made up from scraps. So what I often do is when I'm making my and this one is the shards, the colourful shards pattern. Now, you can make it quite uniform if you're wanting to. You'll notice some of those. Basically, it's a block that's rotated each time it moves along. But you can make it completely random. And then what I will often do is I will sit in the evening watching the telly and just use my scrap fabrics and cut out pieces. And earlier on, I've got my Deflecto out for the show that Adam was doing. And I just literally keep a pot with the different shapes in there. So there might be the half square triangles, and then I can just use them to do quilts, just like the colourful shards one. You've got your little squares in there. So you're utilising all your scraps. Everything becomes a usable piece. So that's usually on the go, and that's the kind of quilt that you can create. Now, the last one that we've got, which is called Arras. Now, when I named this one, I had a bit of fun with this one because everyone said, oh, is that Mexican or is it Spanish? It's not, because they're Arras. They're arrows, aren't they? They're arrows,
aren't they?
So that's why they're called arrows, because that's what they are.
On us, they're arrows, aren't they?
So that one has actually been created using charm packs or your 5-inch squares. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with a charm pack, Fiona, but they're not the biggest pieces of fabric.
No, indeed.
So this is a charm pack. This is one that I've made up of my own fabrics, just using some batiks and things. But basically, they're 5-inch squares. They're one of the most affordable way for you to get a lovely selection of fabrics. And quite often, you'll have between 42 and 45 squares featuring in there, which is enough for you to do a quilt like the one that we've just looked at. And if you go onto the website, you'll find loads of charm packs on there, or 5-inch squares that you can use. And also layer cakes or 10-inch squares. Again, you'll find these on the website, I'm sure. So these are all larger pieces. But I wanted to show you how you can actually use your dies to cut out your pieces, because if you were doing it in the traditional sense and you wanted to do your quarter square triangles and your rectangles out of these, you would struggle because you're doing a rotary cut. And quite often, I'm not going to cut it, but if you were cutting your rectangles, you've got to cut right the way through, and you might not leave enough space then for do your triangles, you see. So the nice thing about working with pre-cuts and using the dies is you decide exactly whereabouts they are going to be sitting. So let's have a little at the arrows. Now, the arrows is one of the patterns that you're getting within the one-day special. So I've got them all here. So if I just explain what you've got, so you'll have a picture, which is the layout of your design. It actually gives you the fabrics that you're going to need. So if you have got a shopping list that you're wanting to fill in, you can do that quite easily. And incidentally, the instructions are not just for the dies, they are for the traditional method as well. So if you do decide you want to cut them in the traditional way, you can. Now, each one of the patterns has got like an ingredients. So patch A, you're going to need 40 of those. So quickly and easily, you can go off and cut those. Yeah. Patch B, which is made up of your quarter square triangles, you're going to need, where am I, 18 like this, and 18 like this, so it's going to be 36 in total. So you're basically getting all of the elements that you need. So you'll have all of these little squares ready for you to put together in the combination that you need for that particular block. Then it will tell you if you need additional strips to add in, and then you're basically putting those pieces together to create your overall quilt. So this, I feel, is one of the most simplistic ways of learning how to quilt, keeping it nice and easy. If I've been able to put a quilt pattern on one sheet of A4 paper, that is making it very, very simple. Yes. Very simple. Yeah. So let's go back to how I created those patches for my arrows. So what I need is, I need my squares, which I'm not going to cut out because they're the easy ones to do, aren't they? But, so I'm going to go for the quarter square triangle. So it says there, create patches using 4 quarter square triangle dies. And it explains that if you're wanting to do it with the rotary cutter that you can do, and you make 18 patches in total. So what you have to decide is which fabric is going to be represented by blue and which one is going to be represented by green. So let's go for, well, let's keep it simple. So we're going to go for that particular one, which can be the blue, and then we'll go for the solid, which will be the green. Now what I often do is on the front sheet I would just take a little snippet of fabric, staple it to the edge and draw little arrows to it so as you know which relates to which one.
Idea, yeah.
Because I haven't done them in the exact same way as you can see on there. So working with the blue, which obviously on this occasion is our pattern fabric here, I'm just going to put them together. And I'm going to lay them down. Now what I'm actually going to do is, because I need multiples of these, I'm going to put 4 of these down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate them. And if you think about the way you're layering up your fabrics to start with, it means that they are ready to pass through your sewing machine. Now you don't have to. When you're just getting started, you might want to just do all of your fabrics layered up in that particular pattern and do it that way, and then kind of put the combinations together afterwards. But you'll gain confidence as you go. So I need to create some of those with my little triangle. So I'm going to take that particular triangle there. Whoops, put it the right way around, like so. And then I'm going to put that triangle like so. And I'm just going to put that in that corner over there. And then the rectangles we're going to need, which I might, is the skinny rectangle. So I'm going to put one of those there. And I'm going to put one of those there. Now that particular combination is pretty much impossible to do if you're trying to do it with a rotary cutter. You wouldn't manage it. But because I've got the dies, I can lay them exactly where I need them to go. I can cover them over like so. You just need to be aware that they're not to cross over. Just keep an eye on where they're sitting. Right. And then you pop it through your die cutting machine and it will cut all of those over. So just going to pop that down on like so. And then just pass it through. Again, you'll get the cracking noise.
But that's because they're really well-made strong dies, aren't they?
That's it, yeah. And you've got 4 layers of fabric in there. Ooh. That's what I found to be the optimum quantity of fabrics. It will take more, but as I say, that's going to have an effect on your plates that will cause them to bow and bend. So don't do that if you can get away with it. But now I have got my pieces, so I've got my little rectangles, which I can stitch together as I need to for the pattern. So I've got 4 of those there, like so. Then I've got another 4 of those ready to go. And
Hayley, if people have a machine that doesn't have the metal plate, do we need the metal plate?
I tend to find that fabrics cook better when they're going into a metal plate. Now, sometimes you might find situations like this where they haven't completely cut through. It can depend on the type of fabric that you've got. So it's cutting most of the points, but rather than actually pulling the fabric and getting little runs in my fabric, I'm just going to snip that just there like so. It's just building up the layers. Different machines behave in different ways. So I find that having that magnetic sheet or the metal sheet, which I think you can get for the Kaleido, it just prolongs the life of your blades, and it's better because the metal is cutting into metal, so you get a better cut with it. So let's just move that to one side now. So now in that one pass, I have created all of my little triangles there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 triangles and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rectangles out of a piece of fabric like that.
4 charms.
So there you go.
Wow. That's thrifty, that is.
So it shows you. And what's my waist? I've lost my waist. Where was it? There's hardly anything.
There wasn't much of it, darling.
There's hardly any. I don't know where I've done it. I've got carried away, I've just thrown it away. But it's literally just those tiny pieces of waste. So this is where I personally find it more economical to work with the dies than it is with the rotary cutter. Again, if you're going to be looking at things like your larger pieces, then again, you can do exactly the same. So you can take your larger pieces, you can layer them up, get them ready to pass through your machine. So again, think about it. You don't have to. I mean, on this scenario, I might just take it just like that. So there we go. So if I was working with those, cut that into my charm. So that's 4 layers there. If you're finding it overcomplicated, then just make it simple. Keep it simple. So again, 4 layers there. I can be taking my little triangles. Again, Traditionally, when you're looking at quilting dies, you have to pass this through 4 times because you need your 4 triangles and you would only get 1 die in your pack. So again, just lay them down where you're wanting to go. You can put a little bit of tape on there if you're wanting to, and then you just secure them with your top plate, which is disappear. What? I think we've got the gremlins in here. Oh, there it is. It's underneath. It's underneath there. So pop that on top like so, and then again pass that through. And straight away I have got my pieces all cut and ready to go, but they're all neat edges, which means that I don't have any of those little dog ears that I have to cut out. And you can see with this, that is the waste. That is all the waste that I've got there from that layer cake there. That is it. That is not a lot of waste, but those are a lot of pieces that you have created there ready to go with your next quilt block.
Yeah,
so I've
16
triangles.
3/4 inch triangles.
Yeah, 16 triangles in one pass.
Seconds, yeah.
So that's why it didn't take long at all for me to have all those fabrics ready. And then the beauty is when you do come to stitch them together, so let's just mix it up a little bit. I know these fabrics don't go together, but as I mentioned before, you can take those right sides together. They're all ready to go. I can stitch along there, press it open, and I haven't got any nasty little bits that I'm having to trim off. I'm going to have a perfectly cut and stitched patch that can go towards my quilt.
Fantastic. And of course, you know, I'm just thinking of Hayley's Mocha block system, and I'm thinking once you've got these dies, Hayley's given us 9 patterns in the monthly mega deal, but you can start to create your own. And you can start to use those dies and create those other patterns, those imaginative ones as well, your own patterns. It doesn't have to be your Martha Washington, it doesn't have to be your Flying Geese. You know, it can be something that you've created with her Mocha block system as well. So versatile. Sorry, Katie, what was that, darling? Over 10% of the monthly mega deal has gone. If your budget doesn't quite stretch, we can break it down. So the one-day special comprises of these 3 beautiful patterns here. The shards are my favourite in there. We've got our other 2 patterns here as well. What they're called again? Our Seeing Stars quilt. There we go. And the one Hayley was just talking about there are arrows. How could I forget the arrows? And you have got your 3-inch square dies, 2 of them there. You've got your 3-inch quarter triangles there and your 1x3-inch rectangles as well. Fantastic, useful dies. And in that, you've got a £14 saving. So again, 3 patterns there by Hayley, they'd be £5 each. But of course, you know, you can create your own patterns as well. 2 flexi-buy payments of £20.49 to be spread over May and June, 996139. We have another set of 3 for you. You've got £14 saving in that. £13 saving in this set now. And this is our set of 3. Forgive me, you're going to have to read out the titles for me again so I can remember them. Oh yeah, I'll just do that. All Together Now. There we go. That's our beautiful. All Together Now. I should remember. Diagonal Delight. Yes, and then the little block system that Hayley's daughter did. First time ever quilter. Unbelievable. So here you have got your triangles there. You have got your 1-inch squares there. And again, you've got quarter squares. And then you've got your rectangles, your 2x1 there. £13 saving on that. £32.97830808. But the majority of you have seen the incredible value of taking that £14 saving, that £13 saving, carrying it across, get another £15 saving because you get another 3, you know, you could argue another 3 patterns as an absolute bonus, which are these 2 beautiful quilts behind me as well. So 3 extra patterns here. Now each of these patterns, you know, on Hayley's website, £5 each. That's £45 saving. And plus, we're getting those amazing dies. I mean, that is incredible for £69.94. It is like you're getting the dies for £24.94. And they're not ordinary dies, as we've just learnt from Hayley. Specially designed, specially made for this purpose, essentially. 438598. And that can be split over 2 flexi-buy payments for you as well. That's the monthly mega deal for all of it. Yes, you too can make 9 quilts in 9 days. Oh my word, you'll have a new cottage industry sprouting up in your home. We've also got Yeah, the Hayley's little grab and go bag. Yeah, we love that with all those famous Tupperware boxes we end up with, you know, loaded up on top of the fridge or in some cupboard somewhere. £9.99. We've had those on the show. When Hayley brings the material with them, they sell out every single time. 531395. If you want your zips, we love a zip bungle. Bungle? That was Freudian, wasn't it, Zippy? Zip bungle. We have got the bundle. 18 inches and the 6-inch zips, 10 zip bundle there. Different colours, navy blue. And I like to, you know, to make them stand out. So different colour. Olive, the olive zips, ivory, always useful. Bubblegum pink, gorgeous. 4102629999. 18-inch zip, fabulous, goes all the way around that lovely bag. Right, okay, let's go back to Hayley.
Fabulous. Now, one of the quilts that we haven't got made up is one that I was looking at doing during the course of the show. So I thought, well, let's make a quilt. So the Altogether Now quilt is one that we've got within the monthly mega deal. And it's in the Take Two bundle if you're just wanting to go for this one by itself. And here you've got the layout of the quilt with the different blocks that kind of form in there. And what I've actually done is I've put like a little frame around each one of these blocks to show where it sits within the main pattern. So this is keeping it nice and simple, and it tells you here you need to make 2 of those, you need to make 8 of those, 2 of those, and so on. But in order to make those blocks, you go over the page and it will show you all the different patches that you're going to create. So on this one you need 3 different fabrics, and you need just shy of 1 metre in 2 of them and half a metre in the other. So I've gone into my stash and I've got these fabrics, and I'm going to choose the lightest one for the lighter tone. I'm going to go for the darker one for the next one, and then this one is going to represent the kind of the mid-tone that we've got. So you can see it doesn't have to be pinks and purples that you're making this from. And as I say, what I would do is I would just take a little snippet of the fabric and staple it just to the side there in that same order, 1, 2, 3, so as I know exactly what I'm doing, and I've kind of got that key to follow in case you forget. So when it comes to cutting your larger pieces of fabric, you need to make them into smaller pieces in order for you to cut them out. And again, this is one where people say, oh yeah, but you're going to use a lot of fabric. You're not at all. So what I do is I look at the die that it is that I'm going to be cutting with. So on this occasion, it's talking about the half square triangles, which are the larger triangles. So I'm going to bring those in, and then I'm going to think, right, when it goes through my die cutting machine, I'm going to put them together like so. So I need my fabric to be roughly that wide. So all I'm going to do, you could do it with the rotary cutter if you're wanting to, or just whichever way you're wanting to do it. You could fold it over, you could press it with an iron, or you could just simply take your scissors and think, right, I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm just going to go along like so and cut my fabrics to roughly that same width. And you could, if you wanted to, measure it in, or you could lay the dies down and so on. So let's move the bulk of that fabric out of the way while we'll work with the rest of it. So again, remember what I've said, don't put through any more than 4 layers at the same time. Now I'm not going to layer this up ready for doing the patches. I'm just going to make a whole pile of the half square triangles that I need in this fabric and then in all the other ones, and then kind of do it almost like as a little kit when we come to put them together, which we'll carry on and we'll do at 8 o'clock. So I need to make 46 patches using this lightest fabric. So you can see the lightest fabric there, it's telling me I need 46. So that means I will need 46 of those half square triangles. So I'm just going to fold that in half like so, and I'll come back to that piece. We'll cut that one in a few moments. I'm going to bring the die cutting machine in again. So this is the Kaleido, and I'm using the Kaleido with the metal shim that is available for the Kaleido as well. And it's just a nice and easy one to cut. Your metal into your metal always cuts better with your fabric, I find.
And we've got the A5 and the A4 metal shims available if you search under Crafts 2.
It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one, isn't it? And again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take those dies and I'm just going to lay them down. I've been quite generous on the width of this particular piece, but I'll keep all the scraps because the scraps can be used for binding and all sorts. So again, you could fill up more of an area if you wanted to, but I don't tend to do that. I tend to leave it like so. And I've got 4 layers there, so I'm just going to pass that through, and then I'm just going to roll it round. You don't even need to pass through it twice. It can just go through the once, and then what I've got there are my little triangles ready to go. So I know I've got 4 there, I've got 4 there. So what I would tend to do at home is I would layer them up like that and put them in little bundles of 8. So I know I've got 8 there. So then all I would do is I'd flip my fabric round, or you can trim it down. Don't pass it through the machine with those loose edges, because that is something that could get caught in the roller. So if you wanted to, you can trim them off. Don't throw them away though. Those are useful scraps to go into things like cushions and things. So make sure you've got a box that you can throw those into and use them at a later stage. Again, I'm going to go back in with my dies because I need more of these. And I would just keep doing this until I'd got all of those dies, that, all those pieces that I need. And I can pass that through. Now, obviously, you can trim it down even more if you're wanting to, but I did, in all honesty, I found it so quick doing it this way. And as I say, I just had such a small amount of waste with regards to it.
And also a small amount of equipment, Hayley, because people might not have all the rulers, people might not have the rotary cutters, people might not have, like you said, because we've got the dies, we won't necessarily have all the triangle sizes.
Well, rotary cutters as well. I mean, they can be terrifying to use. I've had a nasty accident with a rotary cutter before now. You need a certain amount of upper body strength with regards to rotary cutting as well. And like you say, you might be a card maker wanting to make a quilt. You don't necessarily want to go out and buy all the paraphernalia.
Exactly, you're ready to go with your dies.
And these dies, incidentally, if you are a card maker, you can still use them for your card making. They'll cut out things like your mixed media because they're thicker. They will allow you to cut those out very quickly and easy. But you can see what we're doing here. We're having a nice little chat. I'm not doing any measuring. I'm not doing any maths at all. All I know,
I need to know on a rotary cutter to take the thumb off.
I could be watching the TV, which is often what happens. We're sat in the kitchen. I'm up at the kind of the bar, the work bar area that we've got in the kitchen. I'm sat there doing this. Davey's watching the telly, having a little bit of a conversation as we go. But all I'm doing is I'm laying these dies down. Obviously, on this occasion, the fabric is non-directional, so I'm not really having to think about it. But I'm just passing those through. When it goes through, again, I would normally trim that off, but because we've got the loose edges here, but because it's just passing through, it's not going through the roller as such, she says as she catches it. So you don't have to worry quite as much if you're not actually rolling it. So there we go. So there's another 8. So we've got 32 of those already in the time that we've just been chatting.
Quick.
So you can see it doesn't take long to come together.
32, no, that's amazing.
So I don't know if you've not got anything to do. I'm going to carry on cutting out with triangles.
Well, yeah, I suppose I was going to say, if you haven't got a metal plate, I suppose the risk is the dies might bite into your other plates, would they?
Well, yeah, I just find, you mean with the metal plate?
If you haven't got one and people are using the dies.
I mean, you can still do it. It's just I found that I get a better cut using the metal. I mean, all you can do is you can add up, put in extra paper if you're wanting to. It's called a shim. So you can shim it up so as it's thicker and it goes through. It's just from personal experience, having the metal plate in there works if you're going to be doing. They're not very expensive to get hold of these, to be honest, and that is the same original one. You can see it's not warped or anything like that. So and I just use that, and these are the exact same plates that I had when I bought my Kaleido when it was first launched here. And you can see, I mean, I've done more cutting than the quilts that we've got here. So these are just a segment of them. So
Deflecto. Thank you, Hayley. We've just had a lot of questions there about the fantastic Kaleido there, because we've got that on the show, and you can shop by brand and find the Crafts 2. You can find the metal shims there for the 5 and the A4. Right, the monthly mega deal, almost 20% now gone already. Remember, this is a mini one-day special tonight at 8 o'clock as well, 8 in the morning, and that'll be it. So what I love is that, you know, I don't need the rotary cutter. I don't need the super duper rulers. I don't need the other measure. The measuring's done for me. I've already got Hayley's Mocha Chocker, I keep renaming it, I'm sorry, Mocha Chocker, Mocha Block system, because it's brilliant. Let me just show you this. This is Hayley's daughter made this. I'm just going to pop those down there. Never made a quilt before. First time quilter using the system. I was literally just looking at that quilt that Hayley's putting together now, and I was looking at it all and thinking, she's written all the instructions on one page. One page. I mean, this is a first timer. Isn't that amazing? I think that's amazing. And I love that I hadn't twigged that Hayley had colorized each of those squares. I hadn't realized they're different. I do now that I paid more attention and looked closely into the pattern. But I love that. And then it's just so simple. It's all on one page. So if you are a crafter thinking, I'd like to give this a go, you just got to get the dies. That's it, because you already have your die cutting machine. If you're already a soft crafter Ask a friend to, you know, even if you don't want to invest in a die cutting machine yet, get them. Ask a friend if you can borrow their die cutting machine or invest in one, because it saves so much time. And of course, with Hayley's Mocha block system, of course, you can, with these dies, create all sorts of different patterns, but she's given us 9 of our own in the monthly mega deal, and then in the sales of £5 each on our website. So that's £45 in there as well. So it's almost like you're getting with the dies, you're paying 27 quid or something like that. It was something just ridiculous. Anyway, 438598, 2 fixed buy payments of £34.97. Shall we have a look at some of the beautiful quilts that Hayley made in 9 weeks? Let's. The thriftiness out of a charm pack, because let's face it, that Liberty fabric's beautiful, but because, you know, obviously you need more than a charm pack for that, but the fact that I could use some of it, you know, and get the most out of it, brilliant. Hayley, let's go back to you, my darling. We're looking at the mega monthly deal. Most people are going for this, and I'm not surprised, darling.
Well, this is it. It makes sense. Now, I've got my 42 triangles in the time that we were just doing that. So
minutes.
I didn't need to add many more to them. I'm just making a start on the next triangles that are going to work alongside them. So rather than me cutting all of those, we've got some here, and I'll just show you what the next stage is. So when you actually look at your instructions, and this will be the same for each of them, dependent on how they work, it will explain to you. So for patch A, you're going to take one of those lighter ones, which if you remember, we use that lighter butterfly fabric. So that is going to be one half of your patch. And then your other half is going to be that mid colour, because it's the pink, and that's the one that we kind of designated this one to be your mid colour. So that's how your patch is going to come together. And it shows you that basically you're going to put both of those fabrics right side together, like so, and you've even got a little stitch line that shows you where you need to stitch. I figured that pictures would say the words.
Oh, completely.
Because it's the words that take up the space, and that's why you'll see here it's very, very stripped back, because that's the way that I feel about most instructions is don't give me all the gobbledygook, just tell me what I need to know, because I don't want to be messing around and kind of having to process it and understand it.
Gobbledygook makes me switch off and I just go, oh, I can't be bothered.
That's so true. And the thing is as well, also when you're kind of following words, sometimes the way that you interpret the words can be different to the way that the original writer intended. So it's one of those things that a picture just says it. Now, all I'm doing here is I'm taking one of the triangles that's represented by the pink with the other one there, and all I'm doing is I'm putting them right side together, and I'm just chain piecing these. So I would do that for all 42 of those that I've created, and then I have got quickly and easily 42 patches ready to go together in my quilt block. So that's what I'm going to be doing in between the shows, and we'll come back with the elements, and by tomorrow morning, hopefully at 8 o'clock, we'll be putting those blocks together to create a fabulous quilt.
And the dies have already factored in your 1/4-inch seam allowance.
They have, yeah. All you need to do is when you're actually stitching, that's a good point, Fiona, so let me take out a piece so as you can see. When you actually work with these, so if I bring a piece in and you'll be able to see, hopefully you'll be able to see where the stitch detail is on there. Now, that is 1/4 of an inch from the edge. So you either use a 1/4-inch foot, or we have got like a little magnetic guide on the show. I think it's in a little, one of the deals that we've got is, hold on, I've got it tucked away somewhere.
I think I've got a picture.
Hold on, I'll get mine.
Yeah, we've got a picture somewhere. You get the safety stiletto and the needle threader. Oh, I haven't seen this, Hayley.
Yeah, well, the magnetic guide is brilliant, especially if you are a novice sew, because you've got a really strong magnet in there. And what that will do is actually sit on your work area. Now, obviously, you have to be mindful of magnets. I know there's certain medical implications of working with magnets, so just be mindful of that. The safety stiletto that comes with it is a really useful tool as well, because sometimes when you're working with fabrics and you're going quite close to the edge, like a 1/4-inch seam, sometimes you can find that when it passes under the foot, that the foot can kind of pull pucker it up, or sometimes you need to push it through. So having that, you can push your fabric through. There's a magnet's caught on there. You can push your fabric through under the foot, and your fingers are well away from that the working area where the needle is. And the final part of this set is a little needle threader. A lot of machines do come with a needle threader already, but this is useful if you've got an older machine that hasn't got an automatic needle threader on it, or if you've got something like an overlocker, because overlockers don't have needle threaders on there. So it's a nice little bundle for the money.
How does the magnet thing work?
Well, the magnet, I need to go back over to the machine.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Making the cameras work. So all it does is you've got a little magnet on the bottom there, and all you do is you literally attach that to where you need it to be on your machine. So you would measure, you take your tape measure and you would measure, or you might have a guide on your machine, and you kind of put that wherever you need it to do.
The edge of the material needs to be.
If you need to lift it up, there is kind of, because it is a very strong magnet, you've got like a little lifter bit there that you can lift it up, but you can see that it's quite a strong magnet, and that will sit wherever you need it to be, and that means you've kind of got that additional guide there if you need it to keep your fabric where you need it to go. It's a bit tricky to see from that angle, but you can see it kind of sits there.
That's so simple.
And then all you do is you've got your 1/4 inch, which you can measure either using the guide that you've got on there, using the little magnetic guide. But what will happen is when you press that open, can you see you've got that smooth corner there, which means when you come with your next square, that you can line them up absolutely perfect. I'm going to press this one and I'll show you. I'll put 2 of them together and just show you how well that they kind of line up.
Yeah, that's a fantastic little bundle there for $9.99. I'm intrigued. I've never seen that before in my life. Now Hayley will continue obviously with the cutting of this pattern that we're doing now, because that's the only one I haven't got a quilt to show you for, but we are looking at the majority of people going for the monthly mega deal. But don't forget, we've got the one-day special, which comprises of your 3-inch squares, your 1/4 inch triangles, 3-inch triangles, I should say 1/4 triangles, and your 3 by 1 inch rectangles, and there's 3 beautiful patterns. And then we've got set 2, and then you've got the extra 3 patterns for the monthly mega deal, £69.94, 2 flexi by payments of £34.97, 438598. Back to you, Hayley.
Okay, so very, very quick. I know we're down to the kind of the last minute of the hour. So I've got my little squares here already. So when I start putting these together in the formation of the pattern, you can see that they're lining up absolutely perfectly. So you've got that kind of rounded edge. You've almost got 3 points where you can measure up that corner and get it to work, rather than just having that harsh corner. And again, I haven't got to trim off those corners because it's all been done with the die.
Brilliant. No doggy ends to do. Just fantastic. Gosh, that makes life easier, doesn't it? 9 quilts in 9 days. It's not magic. And she works here as well and has a family. You know what I mean? She did magic time. Unbelievable. Hayley, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
We'll see you at 8 o'clock. Keep the questions coming. We've had some really good questions about die cutting machines and what have you. So if you're unsure, Hayley will be with us at 8 o'clock. Remember, it's a monthly mega deal, a mini one-day special. Let's see what else.